Yet another war in the woods could be gearing up on Vancouver Island. Maps obtained by the Wilderness Committee show a logging company is prepping to cut a section of the Walbran Valley near Carmanah-Walbran Provincial Park. And joining me by Skype from Vancouver Island to tell us more about this is Torrance Coste of the Wilderness Committee. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me on.
So describe this area to me.
It's really one of the last of its kind. It's one of the largest intact tracts of unlogged old-growth forest that we have left on Vancouver Island, especially southern Vancouver Island. And the difference between it and some of our forests that have been logged and are growing back is hard to put into words. There's trees that are as big as your living room, and then there's trees that are as big as your finger, and everywhere in between. This is a healthy, functioning system, and it's really not something that we have enough of to be squandering, which is exactly what the logging company Teal Jones is looking to do.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about what Teal Jones is planning. So what is the plan?
So their plan is to clear cut basically in the heart of the most sensitive area of the Walbran Valley. We noticed, and others noticed, flagging tape, surveying tape there late last year, and I got in touch with the company through an email chain that's lasted several months. I've highlighted the importance of keeping tracts of old forest like this intact, keeping them standing to provide habitat, to sequester carbon, to do all the things that only old growth forests do. And they essentially, sent a map back that threw that all back in our faces, and their cut block plans are right in the worst area that they could possibly be, right in the heart of the area we are asking them to stay out of.
Now, are we talking about clear cutting, or is it a sort of a different situation?
So the company, they tout their environmental record, they tout their adherence to a strict environmental code. But what we've seen from them elsewhere in the region, they have a very large forest tenure, is basically clear cut logging. This is removing everything within sight and just a field of 900-year-old stumps and debris. And that's really not the kind of thing that we should be seeing in forest of this type.
Right, and it's very close to a protected park.
That's right. So Carmanah-Walbran Provincial Park was protected in the early 90s due to public pressure and campaigns from organizations like ours. And this part of the Walbran Valley was left out of that provincial park, and that was a huge mistake by the government at that time. And right now we need a solution that works for the environment, for the ecosystems, that ensures access for First Nations who have always utilized the forest resources, and that works for our forest industry. We need to have a forest industry in logging communities like Lake Cowichan, which is the closest human settlement to this area. But clear cutting the very last of the old growth isn't the way to do that. Teal Jones's forest tenure is almost 100,000 hectares, and the area that we're asking them to stay out of is 486. So we're asking them to leave alone less than 0.5% of what they can access, and they're essentially refusing to do that, and it looks like they're going to go ahead and apply for permits anyways. And
so if they go ahead and apply for permits, your environmental group and many others are vowing to protest.
Yeah, that's right. So, the history of blockading on the island is long and arduous, and we want to stop it before it gets there. Our primary focus right now is to pressure the provincial government to deny these permits. Teal Jones, by going into this sensitive area, has chosen a war in the woods type conflict. But we don't want to see that happen. We need to be rebuilding this industry. We need to be finding solutions that work for ecosystems, not out there protesting on logging roads. We don't want to go there, and the provincial government has the power, has the ability to keep this conflict from going there.
Right, and as you mentioned, it has been the focus of protests before. I looked through our library archives today, and I was finding stories from 1991, 1992 on the same area.
Yeah.
And at that time, British Columbia got really an international reputation that wasn't in the best light, for logging these kinds of forests.
Right, and there was a bit of a step forward with the protected area with Carmanah-Walbran Provincial Park. The entire Carmanah Valley was protected, and parts of the Walbran Valley, but this part of the Walbran, the central Walbran area, we call it the Bight. If you look at a map of Carmanah Walbran Provincial Park, it looks like someone took a bite out of it. Right in that area is some of the most spectacular old growth, some of the most important old growth ecosystems, you know, the 1,500-year-old trees that are 20 feet wide, and the ecosystems that support them. We need to finish the work that was started 25 years ago, and we need to come up with a solution that protects those forests.
So you're pressuring the provincial government, and then really right now, what do you do? Do you just wait and see what happens next?
So we're mobilizing our membership. We have Wilderness Committee has 60,000 members and supporters across Canada, and in situations like this is where they step up, get really involved, and start to put pressure on the provincial government. We make it really easy at our website, which is wildernesscommittee.org. And in the past, the provincial government has bowed to public pressure like this. You know, I'm hopeful that they'll step up and do the right thing. In this case, you know, the amount of revenue that they could make by allowing these permits for this logging is nowhere near it's just not worth it. So we want to see this area protected. We want to see this old growth forest set aside again in a way that ensures First Nations access, and there needs to be room for logging, but it can't look like this, and the provincial government needs to show some leadership on that.
All right, Torrance, we thank you for joining us this afternoon, and please keep us posted on how things go.
We will. Thank you so much.